Titanic is carved through Southampton like a stick of rock. 3/4 of the nearly 900 crew members gave a Southampton address, and the town was home to the White Star liner for a week or so before she departed on her maiden voyage. Tragically, she hit an iceberg about 4 days into her journey and sank, with a loss of almost 1,500 lives. But why was Southampton chosen as the port of embarkation, and what made the port so important at the time? Southampton docks were built from the late 1830s and were positioned to the east of the old town, where Ocean Village is today. As the 19th century progressed, shipping lines began flocking to make use of the largest facilities in the world: P&O, the American line, White Star. The population multiplied from about 20,000 in 1840 to roughly 119,000 by 1912. In 1907, the White Star Line moved their transatlantic operations from Liverpool to Southampton and were based in Canute Chambers on Canute Road, and a brand new deep water dock allowed for the sailing of huge 45,000-ton ships like the Titanic and her sister, the Olympic. The south coast town had noticeable advantages over its rivals in the north, particularly its proximity to London. The dock station allowed passengers from London to step off of their train and almost walk onto the liner that they were travelling on. On the day of the sailing, a boat train comprising of second and third class passengers arrived at 9:30 a.m, followed by the first class passengers arriving at 11:30 for the 12 p.m. sailing. Next to the station was the impressive South Western House Hotel. In many ways, this sums up the impact of the docks on Southampton. It's a huge building, built in 1865 as a hotel on land leased from the London and South Western Railway. The hotel accommodated many of the wealthier passengers on the night before the voyage, including the Titanic's main naval architect, Thomas Andrews, and the managing director of the White Star Line, J. Bruce Ismay, as well as dock workers and those working on board ships as coal trimmers, firemen, stewards and other roles. Other industries also relied on the ships, including Oakley and Watling, a grocer's, and Beeling's nursery in Highfield. Many of the crew lived in the nearby areas of Northam and Chapel, St Mary's, and many of the stewards lived in Shirley. Life was hard, and the situation was made worse by the first ever national coal strike, leaving ships in port and around 17,000 people without jobs. It was a desperately tough time. The Northern Girls' School log reported that 22 girls received a free meal on March the 14th, 1912. The coal strike lasted for 37 days and only ended 4 days before Titanic set sail. As a result, many passengers were moved onto the Titanic, and other ships were forced to give up their coal so that the Titanic would sail with a full complement. The street with the highest number of crew was Oxford Street. About 40 crew gave their address as Oxford Street, and 26 in just one building, the Sailors' Home, of whom just 7 survived. During her time in Southampton, the ship was fuelled and provisioned, and finishing touches were made to aspects of her. One famous feature was added: the clock in the grand staircase. On the journey from Belfast, a mirror had stood in its place. The Titanic left just after midday on Wednesday the 10th of April 1912, crowds waving her off as she departed. She narrowly avoided disaster when she almost clipped the SS New York, berthed nearby. Just a few days later, when news reached Southampton of the shipwreck of the RMS Titanic, the town went into shock and families sought news. It was said that everybody knew someone who had been on board and that every street was affected. The numbers speak for themselves. 549 crew who provided a Southampton address were lost in the Titanic disaster, and those who did return were changed forever. After the sinking, major changes were made to ship safety, and countless lives have been saved by those changes. But this terrible event is still felt by the people of Southampton today.